Jacksonville Jaguars fans, welcome into Duval Daily, presented by GenJag.com and fueled by Brass Tacks Coffee. It is Wednesday, July 1st. Happy July, folks, and obviously, happy USA. I grabbed the wrong side of the shirt there. Go USA. World Cup, fired up for that game tonight. But right now, we're talking about a different team that wears red, white, and blue, unfortunately. I mean, not me wearing red, white, and blue talking about the Houston Texans. It is what it is. Ben Solak of ESPN, who, I don't know about y'all, but I've been following him forever since he was doing the Locked On NFL Draft podcast with Trevor Sikkema, Tampa Bay Trey. That was a heck of a show back in the day. But right now, we're talking his bold prediction for the Houston Texans to win the AFC and make it all the way to the Super Bowl. And I've got some thoughts on that. If you've been paying attention to this channel, I personally, I think it's basically a coin flip who's better between the Jaguars and the Texans, but I have, maybe it's my bias, maybe it's not, whatever. Based on my analysis, I have the Jaguars as a better team than the Texans moving into 2026. We're going to talk about why. We're going to talk about what Ben Solak thinks here for the Texans, winning the AFC. To me, well, we'll get into it. Really appreciate y'all tuning in. If you enjoy the content, please like and subscribe. And also check out GenJag.com. Pick up some new Duval gear. You can also hit that hype button. Helps out a ton. So, when you look at the Texans, for me, it starts with defense. And obviously, that's where Ben Solak started as well. Talked about how they were almost a generational defense, but it was just like there was 3 generational defenses out there one year. The Broncos, the Texans, and even the Seahawks. The incredible defense last year, played by those football teams. And the Texans lose no one. They lose no one on their defensive coaching staff. I mean, D'Amico Ryans and Matt Burke. Obviously, D'Amico Ryans head coach, but has a huge influence on the defense. And Matt Burke, the defensive coordinator, is still there. They lose no one. No one. Everybody's back. And they add Reed Blankenship, who is a good player from the Philadelphia Eagles. They add Logan Hall, who is a good rotational player from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They add Dominique Robinson, who is a decent rotational player, both those guys up front from the Chicago Bears. In the draft, they went and got Kamari Ramsey, Wade Woodaz, Aiden Fisher, and they added Caden McDonald. The biggest issue, in my opinion, with their defensive front was they didn't have somebody to just go dominate when it comes to strength, holding the point, being a brick wall. Caden McDonald can do that, and he has more upside than that too. I mean, that was a heck of a pick in the second round. So their defense, I think it on paper should be the best defense in football. And on paper includes the actual roster talent on defense, the coaching on defense. Like, it should be incredible. There's not a single weakness I can really point at that I think is significant. Depth is strong. Frontline talent is elite at edge. It's good at defensive tackle. It's really good at linebacker. Secondary is second to none. I mean, it's Derek Stingley, Kalen Bullock, Reed Blankenship, Kamari Lassiter, Jalen Petrie, and good backups at every one of those spots. Pretty crazy. But my issue here is Solak over on ESPN wrote that the Texans offense has the potential to have a Seahawks-like glow up in 2026. Look, is that possible? Maybe. Maybe it is. There's a couple things that hold me back from feeling confident that will be the case. And it's not the quarterback. I know everybody wants to throw CJ Stroud out with the bathwater, if that's the proper terminology. I don't know that phrasing. But to me, CJ Stroud's still a good player. It's been more about what's been around him for the last couple years than about his own inadequacies. And I mean, I think he's developed some bad habits and, trying to deal with this horrible offensive line, all these different things. I do think the offensive line has improved. I think adding a Braden Smith at right tackle, bringing in Keelan Rutledge, even if it was a little bit of a reach in the first round potentially, still a good player. You added Wyatt Teller, who's a physical guy. They're going to try to run the football downhill with David Montgomery. That's what it looks like. But still, on this offensive line, I still don't feel great about it. Like, Ursery, you're banking on having a huge leap forward in year 2, and maybe he can do that, but I don't think that that's written in stone. Wyatt Teller has not been like the dominant Wyatt Teller that we saw earlier in his career. Braden Smith has been oft injured. Ed Ingram did have a resurgent year with them last year. Maybe he'll continue to play that way. I think it's like a better offensive line than what they've had. I don't think it's anywhere near like stalwart top 10. I mean, I think they're hoping to be middle of the pack on the offensive line. And I think if you're hoping to be middle of the pack on the offensive line, that you need some damn good offensive coaching. The jury, I think, it's fair to say, is still out on Nick Caley. But again, Solak made the comparison to the Seahawks offense. Not by scheme or structure or anything like that, but just like the Seahawks could do that. Clint Kubiak was such an amazing offensive coordinator last year in Seattle and the year before that in New Orleans. We haven't seen anything like that from Nick Caley as an offensive coordinator. And I'm not saying he can't be, but I'm just saying when I look at this offensive line, when I look at this offensive coordinator, compare it to the Seahawks last year, I don't see that, man. I really don't. Even if I like CJ Stroud more than I like Sam Darnold. I know Darnold has more seasoning. He's been there and done that a lot more. He's gone through a lot more in his career and grown and stuff. But and look, I mean, I like David Montgomery as much as the next guy, but let's not confuse him with Kenneth Gainwell with his explosive ability. I like the receivers a lot. There's no questioning that. I like the quarterback a lot. I think David Montgomery is a good player. And like Dalton Schultz, Foster Moreau, Marlon Klein, I like that tight end room. But I do not see in any way, shape, or form an offensive line that matches up with what the Seahawks were able to do on the offensive line last year, or an offensive coordinator who matches up with Clint Kubiak. So that is what holds me back. And that's what holds me back when I talk about them within the division against the Jaguars. So yeah, I don't agree. Like, if I had to predict, do I think the Texans are going to win the AFC? I don't. I don't think that they're going to have an offense that will get them through the playoffs. I do think they're a playoff team. I think they're right there neck and neck with the Jaguars. But when I talk about the Jags, I see a more well-rounded football team. I see a team that has literally like almost everything you could ask for. I think you might want a better edge 3. You might want a couple better pieces on the offensive line. But it's not like they might not have those guys in the building right now. At center, I mean, Hainsey, decent player, ups and downs. We talked about that yesterday. Jonah Monheim looked really good in his stead. Obviously, you got a lot to prove, but he's a really good athlete. Played a lot at USC, etc. At right guard, you've got multiple options to potentially replace McCary. So I think, and the offensive line does hinge on Cole Van Lanen's health and how is he back to the guy we saw last year when he steps out on that football field. So I have the Jaguars slightly ahead. I think they're more well-rounded with the coaching, with the talent on both sides of the ball. I've said this recently. The Texans, I think, have the number one side of the ball. When you put the 4 sides of the ball for the Jaguars and the Texans, Jaguars offense, Texans defense, Texans offense. I think Texans defense is number 1. I think Jaguars offense is number 2. I think Jaguars defense is number 3, and Texans offense is number 4. So that's a really interesting dichotomy. And I think it's going to come down to, I think it's going to personally come down to coaching. And I think the Jaguars have a more complete coaching staff. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. If you enjoy the content, please like and subscribe. Y'all have a good one.